And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We did it. We shut down the computer. We let it rest and breathe for 5 minutes. I assume that's what computers do when you shut them down. They rest and they breathe. So where we last left off, we were adjusting the opacity of these tree shadows in order to establish the baseline for the rest of the tree icons that I'll be making today. And I believe the magic number that we came up with was 35. Hey Ed, glad you stuck with me. I wish there was a way to lower the opacity on only a selection. I also know that there's a way in Photoshop to copy and paste a thing right in place. Let's see if I do Control Copy, Control V. No, even that doesn't keep it right in place. Because otherwise what happens is you Control X, Control V, and it sticks it in the middle of the document instead of where you just X'd it out of. Like, how often would you actually ever want it to move, is my question. My answer is like 10% of the time, maybe. Okay, so we're going for about 35%, which is like where it's practically invisible here, but whatever goes on behind the scenes, that's what seems to work. That's true. That would be very rude of you to advise me to turn off the stream and then you leave. That's kind of like the old, what's that? And then you run away. Oh, what are you doing? File, save. There we go. Hi 76, how you doing? How are things in your world today? On this lovely Sunday afternoon. Me, I'm just casting shade. Throwing shade. That's the word I was looking for, to try to make a double entendre. Not a dirty double entendre, mind you, which is quite rare. Like, what's the point of doing a double entendre if not to be dirty? Or is that just a pun at that point? Uh-oh. I just realized I don't know if a double entendre is allowed to be non-dirty. Quick, someone look this up for me. I must know. Does double entendre always imply something naughty or dirty? I'm doing alright, 76. I'm very stressed, but I've been having pretty good success lately as far as like I'm happy with the results of things. It's just, you know, things take time, and I see how much time is left to get this book done and the amount of time it takes me to do things, and I try to do the maths in my head, and it looks like I need about this much time. See where my hands are? I need that much time, but I only have this much time. So that's how I feel right now. Very similar to game development. I've been through this process many times. When you get near the end of a game development and there's only, you know, a couple months or a couple weeks left, and it seems like nothing's coming together, and then just like magically things almost always, in my experience, just start coming together. I've been lucky to work at places with super talented, passionate people for the most part, so that probably has a lot to do with that experience. Hopefully I was one of those talented, passionate people, so the same thing will happen with this book project. That's my hope. We'll see. It will all just fall together, you know, with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, of course. Alright. Alright, so W. Bever and Ed Bever, please tell me you guys are related. Also, I know I asked this when you guys first popped on, but is it Bever or Beaver, or both? And also, how do you spell Beaver? Because I feel like it's E-A-V-E-R? You are related. Okay. Thank the heavens. All the heavens have been thanked. Did you guys see how the book cover mostly turned out? I love it. I'm so happy with it. Yay. The map in the background is what I'm working on now, because this is kind of the placeholder map, but more or less. Baver would be closest, but the AE would be shorter. Okay. Kind of like the European spelling of paramecium. This was a band in the 90s. I gotta find this real quick. So let's see. My art, graphic art. A Christian doom metal band called Paramecium. Why? So many questions. But I love them. I love Paramecium. Anyway, yeah, I did that logo because I love them so much. They're from Australia, an Australian Christian doom metal band named Paramecium. That's neither here nor there. Stop distracting me, you guys. Let's go back to our trees. Yes? No. This is not the right version of the trees. Okay. Icons 2. This guy. Yes. Okay. Excellent. It's got color. It's got its shade layer. It's got its color layers. We're good. We're in business. Actually, now that I've saved those trees, I'm going to see if they update. Save. Okay, this is saved. Now, if I close it and reopen it, let me give it a minute, just to be sure. Yeah, okay. They did indeed update. The shadows are nice and subtle now. Super subtile. And just to double check, let's paint the train some crazy color. No, any color. Bright red. And it does not change. Yeah, that shadow, because it's so dim and just kind of a... Oh, what's going on here? Something weird is going on here. Is that from the mountain? Oh, I'll bet that's that particular mountain art. Let's go to our symbols. Mountain. See if we can isolate that particular mountain. I think it's the jagged mountain. Yes. Oh, sure enough. Okay. Yep. It's got a little line there. This is something I can fix. I know how to fix things. Some things. Can I fix your broken heart? Probably not. It's mountain sharp? Is that what it's in? Yes. Honey, stop throwing things around.
What was that?
Yeah, something slid off the... I was grabbing vitamins. I probably knocked something down. Okay. I can simply crop the image. Okay, cool. Let's finish cranking through these trees. Assuming I don't choke to death on my own saliva first. This is a trick Heather's been trying to teach me. Right, honey? You're a big fan of choking on your own saliva. Uh-oh. I broke my Streamlabs. Hold on. Drag it out here. Put it back here. Oh, drat. Come on, you can do this. There we go. Okay, so that's... Okay, don't... No! Oh, okay, it's still on its box. Good, good, good. Stay good, stay good. Alright, that's good enough. Now I can slide it over here. I can try to slide it over here. And have comments there. Excellent. Okay. Now I can see you guys here. I can see your comments here. Everything's good. Hi, AJ Baki. I am back. Fish all hanging out in their baggies, adjusting to their new water temperature in their cage made of iron bars. You know the water's not going to stay in there, right, Letha? That's not how cages work. Let's see. So I feel like I should just do shadows on a separate layer, tree shadows on a separate layer, paint them, turn them all down to 30%, 35%. Yeah, flying fish? Oh, okay. Just out of curiosity, do your fish have feathers? And do they go like tweet, 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 tweet? Because I have a theory about this. I think the person at the pet shop may have pulled a fast one on you. Okay, time for shade. Shady shade. Paintbrush, please. Yeah, your cat's really interested in your fish. Your flying fish with feathers and beaks that tweet. That's true. I imagine cats would love fish birds and birdfish. Probably parrotfish would be their favorite. Okay, I have a random question for anyone who knows me from Guild Wars 2. Here's a question. If you saw an advertisement for my book on a Guild Wars 2 related website, not an official Guild Wars 2 of course, but a couple people who run Guild Wars 2 related websites have reached out to me and offered me ad space on their websites. So I want to make a custom ad for, you know, people who know me from that. Tell me how you would react to seeing this. Something along the lines of, from the mind that brought you Super Adventure Box, the Mad King Clock Tower, and the Chalice of Tears, you know, some like list of well-known content that I was the primary designer / creator of. Comes a thrilling adventure, fantasy adventure novel, The Scarred King, blah blah blah, and then, you know, a picture of the book. Would you feel like that was in some way inappropriate? Like, I don't have any impulses that would be inappropriate, but I have enough experience in life that I know often things that there are inappropriate things, impulses I have that I don't understand why they are that way, which is why I've trained myself to ask this question frequently. So it is a question I'm asking now. Yeah, you're Yak Yak the Soul Devouring Parrot. That was a monstrous bird right there. A cat you were cat sitting jumped into Yak Yak's enclosure? What happened? Did it end up jumping right back out almost immediately after being bitten? Or squawked at and startled? Or having its soul devoured? AJ Baki says, think that would make a fun ad. Okay. Cat expected her to run, but she charged furiously at it, and the cat scrambled to get out of the way. Yeah. Expectations make all the difference. Aletha, you should post a link to the YouTube video ad for your books that I did the special effects for, so people can see how awesome you and my special effects are. And they'll get to see Yak Yak the Soul Devouring Parrot in action. That was concepted by the amazing Josh Foreman. I gotta say, that video was terrible when you gave it to me. I really turned it around. I made it good. The right kind of awful? Yes, exactly. I have not opened the internet yet, so be prepared for pain. Alright, let's watch this. This is so good. This is so good. I think everyone needs to see it. Pause my music. Okay.
You can't sit in my marble home. Home with you. So here we have AJ Baki, the author of the Worlds of Kilter series and the Hidden Level Trifecta. What is a trifecta?
Well, sometimes trifecta is used as a term for the first 3 horses at the beginning of a race, but I actually used it as the other definition for 3 grand events coming together.
Okay, hold on. Is that the right volume for it right here? Sorry, I can't actually tell what the volume is like when it changes. It's super annoying. Volume could go up a bit. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay, here we go. Get ready to cover your ears in case this is loud. I'm going to go back a touch.
Series and the Hidden Level Trifecta. What is a trifecta?
Well, sometimes trifecta is used as a term for the first 3 horses at the beginning of a race, but I actually used it as the other definition for 3 grand events coming together. I think very highly of my books.
Okay. Alright then.
So, what was the motivation for these books of yours?
My motivation was to be able to entertain and make people smile.
Well, isn't that just lovely?
Huh. What is your favorite character?
What was the question?
What?
I was enjoying my coffee. It's really good coffee.
What
Special
is
effects.
your favorite character?
My favorite character. Actually, that's a hard decision. I think I like this whole devouring parrot yak yak best. Because you go, ooh, scary.
So,
I cracked myself up.
who did you write your books for?
Oh, you know, I wrote them for cats all around the world.
Every one of them?
Every one of them.
Okay. What's your catchphrase?
Cats are attracted to power. So as you can see, obviously, I am a very powerful person.
Your hair, it's a little roughed up. Is it roughed up? What? It doesn't look quite right.
Are you sure? Is it... There. Is that better?
Yes. Yes.
No. Will you stop that? I am trying to concentrate. Alright. What got you writing these stories in the first place?
Well, I just had all these stories inside of me, just looking for a way to get out. Finally, they escaped. They got lost, but they made it.
Stream.
Are you sure you don't want to stream? It's pretty fun. Due to the unfortunate incident of the interviewer getting turned into a cat, I actually didn't get around to, showing off my books. So, here they are. Aren't they adorable?
So good. So now you know you can subscribe to our channel right there. Now everyone knows. Alright, let me get my music volume back to normal. No! I broke it again. Oh! If I accidentally maximize my OBS on this other screen, then it makes the text super big and goes off of the edge. No. Alright, fine. You're just gonna have to set like that. Oh no, people know your name. Now they'll be able to look you up and buy your books. Just now remembering, I forgot to make stumps. Yeah, I try to use people's screen names out of respect for their decision to use a screen name, but I just always forget with AJ Baki. Because she's special that way. Yeah, those are very special effects. Like, those special effects definitely went to school in the short yellow bus. And you probably thought that you were watching like an ILM production or something from Weta Workshop. But no, I actually made those myself. Of course, I was in the middle of some other big project, so I was only able to spend like an hour or two on them, but I assume that's probably what ILM and Weta do with their special effects as well. I guess technically, so AJ Baki, your author name is AJ Baki, right? You don't go by Aletha. I actually forgot about that. So if you want me to delete this from the internet forever, I can do so. You wish you'd use delete that because it's a cool name? It is a cool name. It's practically Athena. these weird little iconic trees are for the like large, like continent scale maps. I don't want a bunch of individual branches and such. Too much detail on that size of a map and things get messy. Alright, so here's my walking trees. So I was doing that full size painting, not full size, but bigger than an icon size painting last week. So this is going to go through their life cycle. This is the fully matured adult, which looks much like any other tree. You know, at least looks like, you know, a mangrove tree or something like that. But what sets it apart is how it reproduces. It doesn't use seeds or fruit in seed. Well, fruit is just a yummy wrapper around seeds, of course. So when it's ready to reproduce, it sheds all its leaves and it starts bending. Hey, Actreo? Had an idea for a constructed world where a species of tree moved by roots that would grow to one side, and then the tree released roots on the other side, and new roots would then contact and pull it into a new place. Yeah, this is pretty similar to that. So in this case, it bends over what were once branches, grow into roots, snaps itself in half, and then the new kind of bud comes up out of the center of it. So something along those lines. Just a little more acrobatic. I mean, very slow motion acrobatic. Actreo? See, I still don't know if that E is hard or not. Trust me, I can misinterpret anyone's intentions for pronunciation. Super good at that. My idea was inspired by a pernicious little weed here in California. It does to spread its little bulbils, as in A. It's the fonts, A. Actreo. What is the weed called? Doesn't crabgrass kind of grow like that too? Oxalis. Okay. I'll have to look that up. It sounds like either a dandruff shampoo or a drug for performance of any kind. You take your pick. Specifically, Oxalis pescaprae. If you've seen those shamrocks with the pink flowers in groceries, it's a relative of those. Okay. Can you do me a favor and post a link to a picture of one? Or just a Google search? I could bring it up and type in a Google search, but I don't want to disrupt my flow that much. Just want to disrupt my flow enough to click a link, look at a picture. Yes, I am a lazy git. Extremely lazy. I only have been working on this project every waking minute. Ask Heather. For like, how long now? over a year, well over a year. Fortunately, I can do a lot of it here on the couch while we watch stuff. I guess not technically every waking minute, because I do also take Heather on walks every once in a while. And sometimes I stop to eat. Every once in a while I go to the bathroom. What else do I do when I'm awake? Oh, I drive myself and others to various doctor appointments lately. Oh, that's not even a link. I gotta copy and paste. Arrgh. Okay. That's pretty. That's a weed, huh? Can you guys recognize what kind of trees these are? You know, they're more or less. They're map icons to represent a kind of a tree. Can you recognize the type of tree it's meant to represent? Give you a hint. It's the name of someone in the room with you right now. I forgive you, Ed. I'll always forgive you. Until I run out of forgiveness, and then I won't forgive you anymore. Oh man, sitting in the sun, outside, nice. It's not palm trees and it's not heather. But you're warm.
Did you say something?
Oh, no. Someone was guessing your name. And they were wrong.
Not Heather.
They were thinking this plant I was making was heather, but it's not. Also the name of a U2 album, if that helps anyone guess. Tree aloe? No, is there someone named Aloe in the room with you right now? There's only one person I can guarantee is in the room with you right now. Besides yourself. And of course I mean virtually in the room with you. We're all virtual friends here. Joshua Tree, you got it. Yay. That was, I think, my favorite location that I traveled to just under a year ago with my son. We went on a big road trip around the southwest United States. Shot a bunch of footage for a cool movie that I'm probably going to have to make because he's too lazy to do it. But one of many places we stopped was Joshua Tree National Park. That place is amazing. The rock formations there are so cool. They're like custom made for climbing on. Favorite part of the Mojave? Yep. You know, everyone gets exposed to ideas the first time somewhere. You can't control that you first saw Joshua Trees on a U2 album cover. You're happy not needing to send Bono angry letters. Bono. That's how you say that. It's like Bonono? Like the form of chimp? Yeah, don't worry. He did not ruin your ontology by first introducing Joshua Trees to you through an album cover. Part of my very odd childhood was very seldom hearing the radio or pop music in general, but I did have every single Weird Al. Back then they were tapes, so I have heard most of 80s, like late 70s and 80s music as interpreted by Weird Al. I will still, from time to time, be walking through the mall or the grocery store and hear a song. I'm like, they're playing Weird Al? And then, oh, no, this is the actual song that his parody was based on. Oh, that's what it's about. So, I certainly cannot critique anyone for first encountering things in weird places.
It'd be funny to do a Weird Al song and add it to the playlist that I manage for church.
That'd be amazing.
I would die if I had to even just listen to one, so it's not going to work.
Actually, what you could add to the church's playlist is South Park had an episode where they started a Christian pop band.
Really?
Yeah, and they're all just like sexually explicit lyrics, but he puts Jesus in there every time, so it sounds like...
They are explicit?
Well, I mean, it's double entendres, right? Jesus, I want to feel you inside me, that sort of thing.
Oh, God. Although, Kurt would probably...
Kurt would crack up.
Yeah, at the pastor, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't go too well with the congregation.
Oh.
I'd probably get Kevin in trouble. And Kurt would never admit that he thought it was hilarious.
You know what? I asked someone to search for me, and no one did it yet. Someone tell me, is a double entendre necessarily sexual in nature? I would look it up myself, but I'm busy. I must know this. Is it just a pun if it's not sexual in nature? And is double entendre just a fancy French word for a pun that's dirty? Like, why should dirty puns get their own special French word? It doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. You should write a letter to your congressman demanding action. If that's the case. I don't want to jump the gun, though. I want someone to do the research for me first. Word or phrase is open to two interpretations, one of which is usually risque or indecent. Usually, huh? Because, boy, that sure does sound just like a pun to me. Although I suppose, is a pun limited to a word, or can a pun be a phrase? Could be both? Okay. I'm trying to think of a pun that is a phrase. Someone give me an example of a phrase pun. So these palm trees here are for like medium scale maps, and these little fuzzballs here are for the, you know, distant size maps, indicating that this is tropical as opposed to, you know, European climate forest. And this is supposed to be bamboo forest. And this is supposed to be bamboo for medium size. Sometimes you sit so still, I think this stream froze. I mean, I definitely don't freeze up that often. Like lettuce and let us. Okay, that's an example of a phrase pun. Or like, hands down, the best blah blah blah, when your hands happen to be in your pocket or something. Something like that. Alright, so I've done all the white. Let's do all the gray. Actually, I don't have to worry about coloring in the lines with the gray if I just select the white. Hey, Walhush. Oh, dare you not follow me on Twitch yet. But thank you for rectifying that situation. And I do have approximately 18,671 social platforms that I'm on that you need to follow me on. So it's understandable that you might miss one or two. Ed, you stick with the two. Which two? Twitch is one of them. Is the other one YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or Discord or email? Email, okay. Oh yeah, I also forgot newsletter and Patreon. And I'll bet there's even more that I can't think of right now. Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, now Patreon. Not an Instagram person. Excellent. Thank you so much for your patronage. It's funny, like, everyone I follow on Instagram are, well, okay, 90% of everyone I follow on Twitter are, Instagram are sculptors or special, people in special effects or the game industry in general. And so my Instagram feed is pretty much just a inspiration hose. You just open it and you see a million projects that a million people are working on, and it's all art and it's all amazing. And I understand, like, it's a very popular platform, which means lots of non-artists must be on it, and I'm like, what do you post then if not art? And apparently they post like pictures of food or them on vacation or selfies. I'm like, huh, that seems boring, but whatever. And yet I see that stuff on Twitter and Facebook all the time. Just like, oh yeah, that's what those are for. I like to post pictures of horses and cats on Instagram. Yes, you do. And everywhere, really. Sorry, I'm allergic to cats and horses. Sorry, allergic to cats, which is one sneeze, horses, which is the other sneeze. Acteros is 90% plants or the sky. Occasionally the constructed writing system work I do. Ah, good old conlang. Tell me about your conlang. What's it like? You got vowels? You got consonants? Got exotic mouth sounds? Or are you just doing the written portion of it? I tried really hard for my world to avoid that by having everyone speaking English, and came up with like a reason how that could happen via technology, not Babelfish technology, but like the human brain actually, you know, ancestors having used genetic engineering to implant or not implant, but grow an organ in your brain that just accepts, you know, one form of a standard language, which in this case was English, and simply either rejects or doesn't like or gives a unpleasant sensation when other forms are listened to. And then I ran that idea by a conlang forum, and everyone was mortified. It was like, this is a horrific dystopia you're talking about here. What about that, like, what about people with speech impediments? What about creativity when it comes to finding new and different ways to use words? What about when you encounter a new concept? What about, you know, all these things that are like, oh yeah. Thank you, Carambula Aquino, for the subscription over on YouTube. Speaking really strange because nothing really strange because I like to speak it, but it's been going on about 5 years at this point. Yeah, making a language that's like legit is a pretty extreme endeavor. I mean, assuming you want to make it good and not just, you know, there's lots of sloppy shortcuts that you see in TV and movies, and some books that can be taken. But yeah, if you want to do it right, it's intense. I'm gonna have to find someone at some point to help me do conlang for Talifar, because that's one of those fields where, like, yeah, I don't want to half-butt it, and I do not have the time to become good enough at it to do a good job, if you know what I mean. And since I want everything to be really high quality for Talifar, I'm going to have to find someone who's, like, excellent in the field and just pay them. Which means I'm going to need money, which means these books have to do well. I'm also going to have to figure out how to find out who's excellent in the field. Like, I'm at that. I know just enough to know how little I know about it, and one of the things that I know that I don't know about it is how to judge the quality of someone's conlang's skills. As long as you got a good explanation for the language situation, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, my explanation was fine until you really scrutinized it. And one of the things that I want for Talifar is for people to be able to actually legitimately scrutinize and give feedback, and I will change things if something is not scientifically plausible. That's going to be one of the things that sets my IP apart from all the others out there. is caring about that sort of thing. Hate the sci-fi fantasy apostrophe for like, I mean, I see that in names and titles. Is that a conlang thing? Like the shortcuts I was talking about? Hush says, never really thought about that. How do you guys handle it in Guild Wars? You guys made a couple different languages for that game. You go through the same process? I mean, because it's such a collaborative and fast-paced effort, I think Guild Wars got about the same amount of scrutiny that a typical, you know, TV show would get when it comes to its constructed language. Which I guess the state of the art of that has improved. So I shouldn't even say that. I think just barely enough went into it to make it work at first blush. If you break it down and really examine it, it will fall apart for sure. We did not have an actual conlang specialist work with us to develop our languages. That is prohibitively expensive, I assume. Bang for the buck ratio, because like the number of people who would care enough to really interrogate a conlang and see if it worked well is such a small number of a fan base that like the cost to make sure that it stands up to that scrutiny is just, it doesn't make sense for most franchises to do that. The Language Creation Society has a jobs board. You can post an advertisement for it. Yeah, I know. But again, how would I have any idea if the person is good or not? It's not like there's a certification board for conlangs. I mean, my guess would be you get on, you know, Reddit/conlang or someplace like that and just ask around, hey, what are the best conlangs out there and who's responsible and are they available to hire? But that is all outside of my current scope right now. It will become a thing, but it is currently not a thing. Oh, I'm glad I'm warming your heart back, Joe. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why, like, developing this Tales from Telefar, I'm not going the traditional path that most authors want, which is like, you write a book or two, you sell the rights to a movie, and maybe you have a little bit of say in that, and then, you know, you retire to a beach or whatever. Like, I planned on this being my lifelong project, and utilizing scientific plausibility as a design constraint is just going to A, set it apart, B, make it endlessly fascinating for me to work on, and C, require a whole bunch of experts in a whole bunch of fields to collaborate with. And all of those things are super exciting to me. Words like ta'am, ricket, or r, basically that apostrophe that doesn't actually have any purpose. I always read it as a glottal stop. Is that not typically what it indicates? Look exotic, otherwise ignored. Yeah. proper alphabet for New Crichton. Yeah, pretty much, as far as I know, Matthew Medina was the one who did all of the alphabet work, and it wasn't asked for. It was just like, it was a passion of his, so he wanted to do it. So that's how we got what we got. We cannot simply write Tilk. What must be written as Tilk? Someone humming? Oh, yeah, Heather hums in the background. She's a humming girl. She used to skip back when her body would allow her to do so as well. So she's just young at heart. You get used to it. One of the criticisms with the community that there's no system of critique, so a lot of it does boil down to trust. From what I see happening is in Hollywood, the same people who worked on conlangs for shows / movies ended up keep getting offered, like David J. Peterson does. Well, Hush says your humming is fine, honey. Hum away. They just thought they were going crazy.
Did you say something?
They said it's fine that you hum. They just wanted to know they weren't going crazy.
Play this music out loud because that would ruin your stream.
It would.
And
yep.
Sorry.
That's fine. Totally fine. Got all of our white and gray in. Okay. So I guess next I'll do color and then shadow. And I can just make I can take the versions that I do and just change the color, the hue on them if I want in a autumnal set. Although I don't have a winter set yet. Don't worry, she's not upset. Okay, so I still have just those colors selected. Fine. Let's go to our color layer. Yeah. We can do some coloring. No, no upset was done. I think these were intended to kind of be bamboo-ish type trees-ish. You know what I haven't done lately? Save this file. Photoshop rarely crashes on me. But when it does, boy, are those sad times. Shayla cooked some really good steak. Nice. I wish I liked steak. Actually, I'm glad I don't like steak. Actually, I don't dislike steak. I just don't care for it one way or another. It's like alcohol, where it's expensive. It's not necessarily like good for you. It's definitely not good for the planet. I'd always rather just have a cheeseburger. Also not good for the planet, but you know. You know how we are, us humans. We want to care about the planet, but do we? More sausage guy. Sausage is great as long as I don't think about where it came from. Hey Harvest, how you doing? Liking the trees? Good, good. Steak and lobster, huh? Yeah, I'd rather have a 99-cent double cheeseburger from McDonald's. Last few seem a little too whitish to be proper trees. Well, since I read this so late, I can't possibly know what you're referring to. Let's see. Which ones look whitish? You're talking about this walking tree? Ed can't stand lobster? What did lobster ever do to you? McDonald's is indeed nasty. Doesn't keep me from still liking the taste. I mean, it's the classic salt fat with just enough sugar injected in there magically to make it weirdly delicious. I like nice burgers too. I'm just saying, like, if I have money to spend on food that I want to pay for how delicious it seems to me, McDonald's hits that sweet spot. I mean, I'd enjoy a $15 burger more than a 99-cent burger, but the amount that I enjoy it more is not 15 times more. You know what I mean? It's like maybe double. So, like, if that $15 burger cost $3 or $4, then yeah, I'd always go for that one. Okay, time for shadows. Hey Anthony, how you doing? Time for a burger, huh? Ooh, party of 9. Welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome. You guys want to see what I'm doing? I'll show you. I'm making trees and stuff. And you're like, that's weird. Why are you making trees and stuff? And the answer is this. It's a little program called Wonder Draft. This came out recently. Here's my little test bed. So I turned all these little icons into these guys. So now I can do my little fantasy map. Sorry, this is ridiculously big. Let's scale this down a bit, shall we? Scatter some little small ones in there. Then we go in with Tetris. Scatter them about. Anyway, yeah, I'm making maps for. Are you ready for it? Dun 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 dun. Dun. This book that's coming out April 1st. Look for it on Amazon. Go to my web zone. Sign up. Pay $12 for a big one. I mean, it depends on what part of the country you're in. Getting a burger. Most nice burger places around here are just ridiculously expensive. Yeah, I invite all Vikings to raid my stream at any time. They could come up the Rhine as far as they want. I'm cool with it. Hey, something Von Hunter, thank you for following. Sorry, I can't see my full screen because, yeah, my computer's a dork. What can I say? There's a, yeah, so on the book cover, if that's what you mean, this map back here is, let's see, is this one, which is, this was just my first kind of placeholder map, and I'm doing a more super detailed, super high-res one, because throughout the book, I want to like zoom in on the place that he's traveling through and, you know, have a map for each chapter. So this is a good way to do that, is I can do this, and then you could like zoom in on a place and detail that out, and so I can just do the parts that I need to do. It's neat. It's a neato thing. So yeah, I've got the pipeline fairly well figured out. It's just a matter of now I have to generate all these assets. I'll show you how they originated. Was in my sketchbook. Let's see if I can find the right direction. There we go. Right, so you can see variety of icons. So I scan them in and then put them in Photoshop here, doing all the coloring and shading and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, I forgot to do the, still working on the coloring on some of these. So, paintbrush. Scattered leaves. Just giving them a little bit of color pop near the tip helps give a sense of distance between them. That's true, Ed. They would end up in your backyard. I apologize for that. I was hoping to fool them. Hey, Holodeck Prime. Why do fantasy novel writers always start their work with a map? Tolkien did it. Martin did it. Frank Herbert too. They don't always. There's different styles of writing. There's people who do like an outline, a super solid outline first, and then there is what they call seat of the pants writers, which is where you just kind of make it up as you go. Those kind of people probably don't have a map in the beginning. I am very much a world builder first, and leave most of the writing to my co-author. And I do the world development side of things more so. I'm still intimately involved in the story development side of things, but it's just less, like the nitty-gritty of knowing how to do tight third-person perspective and that sort of thing, I leave up to her. Alright, so I got my colors more or less in here. Discovery writers, right. Not seat of your pants writers, discovery writers. Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so for Shadow, I feel like brown was working out for me pretty well. It mostly goes away regardless. So, oh yeah, and trying to decide if I want the shadow in front of or behind. First of all, let's make it smaller. And then that's going to be turned way the heck down so you can barely see it. But then, okay, so before I do the shadow layer, do you match the world to her story, or her story build around your world? So I had been developing the world for about 10 years before she decided to help me by writing some stories in it. And then once she started writing stories, that was a good forcing function to make sure that, decisions that I hadn't considered, that, I need to figure out, the economic, the social issues, the religion, like all these elements of world building that are just you just put something down on a chart, and you're like, oh, they are this way. But once actual characters start doing things inside of that system, you have to start getting really specific about it. So there was a lot of really interesting, more granular development that had to take place once she started writing, and then that was very much a co-world building experience there. And it's still ongoing. She's written 11 novels so far, and every single one is helping me figure that kind of stuff out. And then beta readers have also been a huge help in that endeavor as well, because they'll ask questions that neither her or I had thought about before. So it's not like a co-world building, it's like a community world building effort. It's been really fun. It was my plan all along, so I'm very excited to see it humming along. It says, imagine it could help with the immersion of the writer himself to make the story be more, say, organic, if that makes sense. Well, Ed, the reason you've only been provided with one so far is because that's the one that we have we're the furthest along on. Like, the others have been written, you know, first draft, but so some of them are in second or third draft, but most of them are still first draft. And if you want to read any of them, email me. I will give you a list of them, and you can pick which one you want to look at. Did you actually finish the first Scarred King 1? Because anyone who finishes the first of that trilogy, I will send the second of the trilogy, because we actually have time to do more with your feedback on that one at this point. Okay, yeah, just let me know when you finish it. I'll send you the second. You're almost done? Okay, cool. I know, people read at different paces. I've had people who read the entire book, like, I send it to them late at night, and then, like, I wake up the next day and they're like, here's my feedback on the entire novel. I'm like, what the? But yeah, most people don't finish at all. Of those who do, I'd say the average is like a week or two. Hush says, I'm just looking forward to the inevitable RPG in this world 10 years down the line. Also, Breath of Life game dev section. Would you outsource that? So, my grand vision for all of it is that any individual or studio or company, whatever, that wants to, you know, work inside Tales from Talifar, wants to make a product for it, is welcome to, you know, submit their pitch, and then internally it's me in a small studio with several trusted advisors, one of which is like my science guy, one of which is my story development guy, or girl, obviously, for all of these. One of them is my historian of Talifar person. I will probably need a team of those people. And we're going to need fancy software to accomplish this too. And so this team of people analyzes the pitch for whatever it is, game, comic book, TV show, and gives the feedback. And anyone working in it understands that what they're going to make will be canon. So every other product that comes out in Talifar after that has to respect what they did in that. The flip side of that is they also have to respect everything that's happened in Talifar previously. So there's no contradicting either forward or backwards. And so yeah, and then however much kind of input they want in the process, that would have to be kind of figured out and negotiated on a case-by-case basis, depending on how kind of trustworthy they've proven to be with the brand in the past. You know, how much hand-holding is required would probably vary from place to place, would be my guess. Of course, all of this is predicated on the idea that people want to work, you know, in Tales from Talifar, which will require, you know, a big hit of some sort to happen first. No one wants to work on a franchise that, you know, no one's heard of. It says I can do that. To be honest, I used to read in that way, but since this is a test reading, I try to backtrack certain things to make sure it actually makes sense with things that previously happened. Okay, now back to our shadows. Maybe I just want to do the shadow black. I think that's probably more better. And do I want to do scattered leaves, or do I want to do chalk? Let's see, so basically make a shadow-ish thing. Then I would take this and delete said shadowy thing. But I probably want it to come around the edges a bit, nibble away just a bit. Then I will erase away most of it. And I'll find a sweet spot where I don't have to spend so much time erasing because I've just painted the right amount. But for now, we'll just say it's this. And then ultimately turn it down to its 33%. Something like that. It says, like when he finds the shapeshifter's staff, its measurements are related to his arm, and the entire description made me think it was an actual bracer. So when he later drops it, how is that possible? But when I read back, I noticed he does not actually wear it as a bracer, or at least it's not specifically mentioned he does. Oh, because I said it's arm length? Yeah, that's a good bit of feedback. Just finding places that trip people up and confuse them like that, it's very valuable to kind of massage those areas. Well, Hush says, you say that, but no one knew about Witcher series till the games came out, and then it blew up. A good game, show, or movie can make something that's been passed over shine in the light, I find. Same with the Metro series. I want to say Game of Thrones as well, though they were kind of big, but not world-shatteringly big till the show. Yep. And yes, advertising always helps. Let's rotate my brush a little bit. That's a little too much. Let me double check I'm on the right layer. Shadow layer, yes. Okay. interactive medium to push it. Yeah, I don't know what to do about games with Tales from Talifar yet. Because as a medium, video games still haven't figured out artistically what they can or should be doing when it comes to the narrative side of things. Because the whole idea being that everything is canon, right, means that if you do something in a game...
Did a big box come?
No big box came.
Oh.
Carol's here.
Hey, Carol.
You can come in here. Josh is streaming.
Let's go, man. Hey, Kirill. Check. Okay, yeah. Check this out when you're done. My friend Kirill has been hiring my 19-year-old son to help him do landscaping work. Which he then promptly wasted on buying a banjo. Can't say it's wasted. Maybe he'll become a famous banjo musician. How would I know? Honestly, couldn't read the books, got to book 3 and stopped, enjoyed the show, and just watched YouTubers who break the books down and did theories and such. More fun that way. I'm a visual guy. Yeah, long fantasy novels are not for everyone. You want to keep the story consistent, but you also want to give the player choice. It could be a bit of a tension. Yeah, exactly. I mean, not a bit of a tension. It's actually contradictory. So, an idea I had a while ago is at some point I can have a spin-off specifically for interactive and other kind of products that would be tall tales from Talifar that are just for that sort of thing, where it's like, okay, people know when they're getting into this Talifar related subject matter, it's not actually canon, and so they can know that from the get-go. And so I think most games would have to fall into that category, but like abstractions of things, like for instance, I have this little race of guys, and I want to say 12 years ago I wanted to do a game with my brother. Let's see, where are illustrations? Okay, where my uncle at? Of course, for whatever reason, they are not in my illustrations folder. Scans? No? Here we go. Okay. So, here's this race, this sentient species of creatures that are like little monkey-sized guys. And they're like superpower essentially is that they can tame almost any animal with a mixture of they're just good at taming things, and they can release different chemicals through these toe pads. Hey Kirill, come check out this map thing. It's super cool. Okay, I'll get right back to these uncles in a sec, you guys. So, got all these icons, right? So this is called Wonder Draft, and so this is essentially like a level editor, but only for top-down stuff. So you can put icons down there, and like the land, it's clearly a mesh, because you can do this with it. You can smooth it or rough it, etc., etc.
Love it.
But anyway, that's what I'm doing to make the maps. Do you want to say hi to people?
Sure.
Okay. Say hi to my friend Curio, guys.
Hey guys.
Okay, good job. And then he's the I'd say it's fair to say you're the second best environment artist at ArenaNet.
Sure. I never said that.
All right, but I just did. Right after Tirza. What was I looking for? Oh, I was going to show you the book cover. It's almost done. Yeah, so I just photographed my sculpture yesterday and got it in.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
finally happy with it. Finally. The map that I'm working on now will replace the placeholder one I have there. Yeah. That's what's happening. How's your yard bark going?
Good. Yeah, Shane did amazing job as usual.
Yeah. It's good.
So I wanted to ask you, what's your schedule like in terms of being able to bring him during the week?
Let's see. Here's my schedule.
Annie, are you streaming all day?
I could stream as much or as little as I need to. So this is this week. So let's see. How do I go into this week? There we go. All right. So let's see. Tuesday, I've got an appointment at 11:30. Wednesday, I've got a 10 a.m. and a 12. Thursday, Shane's got an appointment. Then so looks like Friday is super dense. Also, Shane's getting his wisdom teeth out Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for a time I can drop him off, you're saying, or pick him up, or both?
So, like, can you drop him off at like at 10 on Monday and pick him up at 4 or something like that?
Tomorrow Monday?
Tomorrow is Monday.
Like tomorrow Monday?
Technically, I could do that. I'd have to get up early, which sounds awful.
Okay. We'll think about it.
A little bit later, like dropping him off at noon, that I could.
That's fine.
Totally.
Whatever works for you, man.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, on Monday, if you want to drop him off.
You got the day off?
No.
Oh.
But he knows what to do.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't need me there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Cool.
I do that.
Yeah. Drop him off on Monday whenever you can, and then pick him up whenever you can.
Okay.
And then maybe Tuesday.
Okay.
Cool, man. What else? I was gonna ask you.
I know that Trista's thinking maybe next weekend. And he wants to come over?
Yeah, maybe for a little bit.
We were supposed to go to Whiteside's today, but it's gone canceled twice. But then I did too much with my hand anyways this week, so it's like, because I thought about like calling and saying bring her by today, but
Yeah.
I can't. I need to like. This house is killing me. It's a wreck, and
Letha, no, it's not a finished version of my cover, but it's the practically finished. I just gotta put the map in there. But it's the final like sculptural art. All these shadows are going to be like that.
Alright, man, alright. Looks like you're having fun.
I want to go that far, but I'm making progress. I gotta have this thing done hopefully by the end of the week. Publishing date is April 1st, so
That's great. Good luck, man.
It's
Thanks.
squeaky here.
Yeah. Floorboards.
Jeez.
Plywood are made here, so
Sorry about the mess.
doesn't matter to me.
We need a bigger house.
Wahash says, could see you doing a Telltale style game except with actual choices and consequences,
I asked
except
him.
actually using updated engine over the years. Yeah, maybe. Maybe, why not? I've got a good friend who was the narrative director there for a while before they laid everyone off. Wash says you should use that as different prints. First edition has the hand-drawn map, others have the one you're doing on program. Yeah, I'm definitely doing different editions. This is certainly going to be version 1.0. Because, like, as I said, I wish I could get all the, I wish I could have a team of scientists, of every, biologists, geologists, astronomers, etc., all, like, pitching in and making sure everything in my book was scientifically plausible. But since I do not have that team of experts, I do go on Quora a lot and ask people questions. But, I mean, that's, hit or miss. Since I don't have that dedicated resource, I guarantee as revisions to the book will happen and the book will become more and more refined throughout the years. But as far as like doing the map separately, like that kind of art updates, if I can avoid it, I will avoid it. Don't know if I can, but I'm going to do my best. None of that. Nice to have stuff like that, but biggest draw to it for me is the creatures and such, kind of like going to Del Toro route with that being the draw-in for me. Don't want to see that get bogged down for being too weird and you changing. Yeah, everyone comes to things for different reasons. I also love Del Toro's creature design. That's for sure. I'm envious of my friend Doug, who gets to work with him on a regular basis. Oh, before I was so rudely interrupted by me inviting Kirill to come here, I was talking about this as far as games. Okay, so a lot of my sentient creature designs are certainly inspired by video game balancing, in a sense. Like a lot of fantasy writers and sci-fi writers, spec-fic writers, don't think about the logistics of, like, they will make overpowered things and they don't care because it's just they're there to serve the story, right? To be a big scary thing that needs to be overcome by the hero. Like, I care more about the world design and the balance of it, so I actually have mechanisms in place by which all these creatures are balanced out. Anyway, so these little guys can train almost any animal. So basically, if you're fighting these guys, you're fighting bears and wolves and gorillas and whatever else they have. What is that word? It's not taming. It is like animal husbandry, but it's what you do to horses and dogs. It's whatever that word is. That's what they do. That's their specialty. And so, so a game revolving around these guys in an abstract sense, not in like this happened in history on Telefar, but more like in the sense of chess, where it's like, here's the an abstracted version of kingdoms at war with each other, right? So it's not trained. It's, what is that word? Domesticated. Domesticated is the word I was looking for. Okay. So they can domesticate almost any animal that we humans are not able to. A lot of it has to do with having this ability to actually inject pheromones directly into animals' nostrils at will to make them, go berserk or calm or whatever. So it takes them a while to, when a new creature is on the scene, for them to adapt and figure out how to raise it and how to domesticate it. And because there are multiple different tools in the old tool belt, yeah, domesticating a bear is weird, which is why it's a superpower that only this little race of weaklings has. And maybe, so domestication probably isn't the right word either, because it's not like they curl up on their carpet at night. But it's more like they can give, in the same way a horse rider can ride a horse into battle, they can do this with these animals, okay? Again, I need to talk to biologists and stuff about this to get more of the details down, to get it correct. But anyway, an abstracted game where you're competing tribes of these Ungol, who are moving into new territory, a different biome. Now there's all these different animals, and you're kind of in a race to research to figure out how to domesticate them so that you can wipe out the other tribe before they wipe you out. That sort of thing, I feel like that's fertile ground for a game in Telefar, as opposed to things like The Last of Us or The Walking Dead Telltale style games, where it's very much like, here is a plot about a particular character at a particular time in the world doing this particular thing. Does that make sense? So abstracted type games using the mechanics of the world, totally in favor of doing that whenever, but games where you play a character doing a thing, not so much. You want to play a game? Okay, fine. Go ahead, play it. Play it. Well, Hush says, curious if they ever tried to domesticate a human in that world before. How'd that go over? Yeah, I've thought about that. I think they can influence children. Like, basically, it's broken at, like, how intelligent the creature is has a lot to do with it. How much, like, willpower they have. So I would say if given enough time, they could probably domesticate a toddler, but eventually the toddler would grow out of that phase. Although that would be an interesting story if they kidnapped toddlers and had them from, almost from birth. Could they actually have human warriors at their beck and call? I mean, I don't know that would be very useful to them, because you think about, well, certainly on the battlefield, it wouldn't be very useful when you have, one Ungol's riding a bear and another Ungol's riding a human. Probably you would bet on the Ungol riding a bear. The humans would be useful, I imagine, for what's the word? Infiltrating, right? If they wanted to get into a place where humans are, maybe if they raised one from birth, who, you know, they're essentially a super intelligent pet. The human just loves them because they've always been with them, and they kind of feed them the happy gas. Essentially, they're drugged to only love the uncle. That could make a really interesting story. I'm kind of digging this idea. I'm gonna have to think about that a bit. And Mortar, you're beating up Tequatl? Spies, yeah. Human spies. If humans are good at building stuff, they would be better for that. Yep. I can't write that story yet, Olitha. I got so many things to do. But I will add it to my list of... The next story I'm writing is going to be a exploration. I can't think of the word. I don't know if there's a word for this genre, but Voyage of the Beagle is one of them. All these first-person accounts of Europeans traveling the world and experiencing various other parts of the world, and their impressions of it, like travelogue type stuff. I don't necessarily want to write it as a travelogue, but it would be along those lines of where a character, well, a group of characters, you know, there would probably be someone who's funding the trip, you know, a captain, a navigator, a map maker, cartographer, you know, all these people, they're going to this unexplored area where no one returns from, because essentially dragons live there, they're Talifar dragons, which means they're very special. They are not what you would expect when you hear the word dragon. Again, scientific plausibility and being original and not cliched is my primary thing.
They're not really good, like, punsters.
Yeah, they don't tell good puns. These dragons don't tell puns, and they don't lay on
Gold?
bags of gold.
Just the gold?
Yeah, just the gold. They take the gold out of the bags.
Don't like that, obviously. Or purses.
I know, punless dragons. It seems inconceivable, right? Too OP already. Again, a game about this type of dragon that I invented would be incredible. Yep.
Go for a walk.
Alrighty.
Can you help with the shark to me?
Mm-hmm.
You think you can free up like around 6?
Whenever you need, yeah.
Well, it's 5:15. I don't know if you're like in the middle.
It really doesn't matter. It's just working on it every waking minute, so it doesn't matter when I start or stop. Small companion book, perhaps, like a little notebook. People can look up for such references. So if you go to web zone, where's my web zone? Here it is. Yeah, and if you go to Tales from Telefar. There's sentient species. And I'm going to warn you, there's spoilers in here. But, you know, I was just talking about the Ungol, for instance. If you click on the Ungol, you can read all about them. They've got all their stats and everything about their society. Try to stay pretty generic because another trope I'm trying to avoid in fantasy is like all elves are like this and all dwarves are like this and have this religion and have this culture and have this politics. And it's like, everything is varied, but a lot of a sentient species' proclivities are derived from their biology and their environment. And so knowing those factors, you can say in general they're going to be like either monotheistic, pantheistic, or shamanistic, right? And they generally eat these kinds of diet, you know, this kind of diet, etc., etc. So I'll put that here if anyone wants to check it out. Oh wow. And so this is what OBS has been doing to me lately, which is so cool. Making it so I can't post my own stream. Log into Twitch, really? I am freaking the one doing the stream.
How's the stream?
It's good, except for not being able to post links in my own thread, my own chat.
If only I could do the Bart Simpson laugh. Sounded like it.
Let's see, if I go to my channel, there we go. Now can I post it? Ah, see? Lets me now. That's so cool. I wonder if that clears it up then down here. Am I logged in now? Nope. Wow. Streamlabs OBS, fail. I decree thee a fail. Trying to decide if I want to do a little like little bit darker patch of shadow in the very middle. That's probably getting pedantic at that point.
Hey Dad, we don't happen to have any batteries like this, do we?
Not that I know of.
Check real quick.
Yeah? Mom's on a walk.
Am I allowed to take from Heather's alarm? There's two of them.
I mean, are you sure it's the right number? Just because it's the right general shape doesn't mean it's actually the right battery.
Battery 212. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, just buy a new one, and when it gets here, replace it. That's a good question. The trick with the dragons is that they go through a stage where they're essentially non-sentient, where once they hatch from their eggs, they try to find and eat every other one of their race, including full-grown adults. So the adults have to make sure that they put the unhatched eggs very far away from their village. But the other trick they have to balance is that their competing villages are always trying to find and destroy their eggs. And the more that a juvenile eats after it hatches, the bigger it gets. So what the tribes try to do is essentially capture whatever the biggest juvenile is while it's still in that growing phase, and feed it as many of the young or other villagers from the competing villages as possible to make it. And so they end up with like this giant champion dragon the more they can feed to it before it reaches maturity. So I'm guessing during that juvenile stage, then yeah, potentially an Ungol could figure out how to train it well enough to not kill it, assuming it could survive that process. That's always the tricky part. But since they're so driven by impulse during their murder phase, I imagine the Ungol would have a pretty good chance if they could get there and, you know, survive just the environment, because these things live in the dense jungle that's full of super dangerous things. Alright, let's go through the process on a couple of these and see if this is the right configuration of shadow and highlights, etc., etc. Oh wait, the other thing I can do, turn on the grunge layer. Select the shade, Control-Shift-I, delete the grunge layer except where it goes over the plants. And I think that has all the stuff together. Okay, so save it. Merge visible. Save it as map icons to process. I definitely want to be able to go back to the unflattened version later. Although, come to think of it, I could just flatten, I could just copy and flatten, then I wouldn't have to work in another file. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why I'm dumb. Let's just throw these in here. Sprites, trees, 4. Tales from, tales far, tree. What even is this tree? Let's go back to our trees and see if I can see. That's also poplar. Is there a tree shapes? Here we go. What's our tree look like? This one looks the most like one of these guys. What is this guy? Oh my god. I can't even zoom in on it enough to see. What about this one? What is this guy? Is that like a maple? Ah, here's good. Those aren't real trees. Maple could be all sorts of different shapes. I'm just going to call this one a maple. True, I can't think of everything at the same time, which makes me dumb! There are movies about how to train a dragon. Oh, that's a good point. I'm gonna guess the Ungol have not seen those movies. Okay, now before I do the other 4, let's go in here. Discard changes. Oh, and I need to change it so it doesn't inherit the color, which is dumb and annoying. But it is what it is. Normal. It'd be nice if that was just a checkbox in the editor, wouldn't it? Yay! So that shadow is quite subtle. Is it the right amount of subtle? Trying to see if different scales, if it makes a difference. Looks pretty consistent at whatever the scale is. I feel like it could go just a touch darker. Yeah. Okay, so to do that, we've got to go history, back before the merge visible, take our shadow, pump that up. Oh, because I had it at 18%. That's weird. I already agreed 35% was the right amount. Okay. Uh-oh, did I break it again? I may not like being opened and closed and opened and closed over and over again. So am I gonna have to restart my computer every time this happens? Let's hope not. Let's hope this is just a fluke. It may be a thing. I'm gonna close that program. Okay, given it time, reopen said program. Okay, so these, it seems to be awake, right? It's not frozen now. What happens if I sing you? Okay, we'll make a new thing for me. Cool. And yeah, that shadow feels fine to me. Just fine. If anything, it's maybe a little too big, but the darkness of it, I'm happy with. Okay, so what happens if I open now? Discard that. I freeze up? Okay, so it doesn't like to open sometimes. Good to know. Shouldn't be much of a problem once I get my icons all figured out. I will just be in my file working on it. Okay, so let's go back before we merge the layers. Turn the shadows up so I can see them better. And just erase away a bunch of these edges a bit. I think it's just specifically these trees because the canopy is so small compared to the trunk. Okay, then turn them back down to 35. Merge visible. All right, AJ. Thanks for hanging. Have a good rest of your day. Make a new. And let's do density a little higher. So if we have a very defined forest border like a lot of fantasy maps have, which I'm not necessarily going to do because it's not actually that realistic, but just want to see if I get a similar effect. Turn up the placement right. Yeah, the weird little blumpy bits on here do tend to stick out a little bit, but imagine if you start mixing in other trees into the mix. That probably helps break that up. And then it's a very blustery day. Alright. Cool. Well, I'm just going to go through the process of saving off all of these tree assets. So that's just going to be an hour or two of sitting there. I might as well watch a show with my little wifey while I do that. So I'll call it for now. I may or may not be back later tonight to, who knows, maybe start working on the actual map. We'll see. Yeah, I feel like we're getting close. Getting close. I like the assassin centauri that keeps popping up to the right side. It's cute in a strange way. You're talking about the art that's right above my head here? Not sure what the assassin centauri is you're referring to. Most races maintain something like a tree plantation of sorts, so densely forested, confined areas are not as rare. Yeah, I guess once you start plowing fields and stuff, it makes more sense that you have like delineated, here is this forest, boom. But in nature, that kind of stuff, like there are meadows but the trees, like, tend, I don't know, sometimes, I guess from a top down perspective, let's just look at Google Earth. Boom, let's just go to Google Earth here. Oh wait, you have to download it? Dang it. Just kidding then. Let's look at why isn't this just taking me to Google Maps? Okay, so here's some. Let's go to satellite. Yeah, so I guess from satellite perspective, you could definitely say this is the forest. But my experience is that the trees are more like this, where they kind of thin out and get smaller as they get away from the forest proper. Or here in my area, they just go right down to the water, and that's where they stop. I'm trying to think if they're, I guess on the east side of our mountains, that's where you see a lot more of that scattered trees. Like, yeah, like this is what I'm talking about. So yeah, there's technically, you could say this is the border of the forest, but there's still plenty of trees out here too, so. Anyway. Create what you see and try to explain it. Yeah, more or less. Alright, so calling it for today, or well, for now. I may or may not come back later today. I will certainly be back tomorrow. Got to get this map finished ASAP, which stands for ASAP as possible. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.